What is up YouTube, and welcome to this American Gods breakdown, review and recap. Well, the last few breakdowns I've mentioned that the show is veering heavily off course. We are now having somewhat of a course correction with the return of a character and Laura's plans to get one over on Odin. We open with another coming to America story, and I love how slowly they are telling the story of Demeter and the old gods in the formation of the United States of America. We have Tyr and Odin, two war gods, now free of the greatest army ever formed up until that point. The American War of Independence is won, but all Tyr wants is to get with a goddess, and Odin offers his help, of course. Odin wanted power and everything that comes with it, except later she chose Odin over Tyr and the pair got married. However, sadly, they lost their child, and Odin, in his own words, said he was too cowardly to deal with it, and Tyr helped her and Odin went his own way. This is why Tyr is there later in the episode and why Demeter had sent Tyr a postcard earlier in the episode. Odin is still in the facility and writing his story, a play to finally win over Demeter once and for all, but so far he doesn't understand the woman or why she is not into him anymore. But the end of the episode explains why Demeter wanted to stay here, as she couldn't mourn, as she was angry with Odin and left the world, so to speak. He has a snack with Demeter, but is taken by an orderly, as Demeter planted pills to get him in trouble, but as usual the silver-tongued god gets out of it and even offers to help the orderly get with the pottery teacher, a storyline I thought that would go a bit further, but it didn't. He doesn't need drugs, as he is drugs, which makes sense as religion is the opium of the masses. The worst person in the world, Laura, is with our boy Shadow, as she still cannot leave well enough alone, as she asks for help to kill Odin, except he finally drops a bombshell on her that Odin is his father, as Laura is literally like, understandable, have a nice day, and leaves. Seems to be a bit of a waste of time scene as she awkwardly meets Marguerite, but Laura's story seems a bit tacked on, except heavily it is going to get important later on as she's helping Mr. World. We catch up with Tech Boy, who is still praying out and runs a diagnostic, only to learn that he needs an Artifact 1 to reset and fix himself, except he hasn't a clue what that is and heads off to Miss World, now Mr. World. It's time to talk about the elephant in the room, as Salim has the TV talk to him, and he later learns that Odin is the guest of honor at a black metal vigil, except it's been cancelled. Of course, Marilyn Manson was involved in it, and well, his character Johan, I expected, was going to be a major role this season. However, due to the allegations against him, he has been dropped. So I expect the black metal storyline to really be dead in the water here, which is a shame, but of course there is these allegations which I'm not going to pass judgment on, I'm not going to mention, I'm just presenting a fact here that this is why Marilyn Manson has left the show. I feel like there is a bit too much going on, as the Selim and Allura dynamic would be a lot more interesting to watch than the whole thing with Demeter. But we then head back to Lakeside as we see Anne-Marie take over from the policeman who's being harassed by citizens, and Allison is still missing. But us book readers, we know exactly where she is and why she's missing, as well, the character of Anne-Marie Hinzelman has been gender swapped from the book. And I think that this is actually a better story, having this character be the comely, kind of really nice woman and matriarch of really the whole of Lakeside, it seems. Lakeside hasn't had a serious crime since the 80s, which is why everyone is so angry, and the crime is the lowest in the state, which is a big thing why what is going to happen is going to happen. However, I will go into that a bit more detail at the end of the video. Now, Mr. World is played by Danny Trejo, which is really cool to see, and well, he cannot find Tech Boy as his workers are having trouble locating him, and they're trying to get Shard online. Later, Tech Boy walked in and explained that he's having trouble and has a lot of bravado against Mr. World, as he realises that he's still not been replaced and he's integral to this Shard platform. And this is also integral to their dominance over the old gods, and will kind of really end any war that would happen, as Tech Boy asks about Artifact 1 and Mr. World offers support and says, "You're my favourite one," obviously only offering support as well. Really, Tech Boy is the only one who can get Shard to be what it needs to be, a real kind of living, breathing church, so to speak, in the cloud. The whole saying that he cared for Tech Boy was obviously a lie there, but Mr. World heads down into the basement and, well, looks at the artifact and even talks to a third party who will help him as Laura tries to really find a way to get at Odin. And, well, at the end of the episode, this is why Mr. World went to her, as, of course, the enemy of his enemy is his friend, which makes sense as to why he goes to Salim and Laura at the end of the episode, two people who hate Odin heavily. I have to say that I feel like the Mr. Wednesday storyline with Demeter, while decent, did distract from the show, and the episode just felt really muddled, and the season has felt muddled. While last season kind of felt big, this season has felt very small, but that's not a good thing. It could be a good thing if they focused mainly on Lakeside and actually told one story at a time instead of having too many go on at once. But we learn just what happened with the pair as he puts on a play and explains how she chose Odin instead, and they lost their child. It was a tender moment. However, Tyr is there and she believes that Odin just wants her for her money and resources. He's lasted a week and she will be leaving, and Tyr urges him to speak to her and find out what she actually wants, and that was closure for their child who passed away. They talk about what happened, however, in a shocking moment she drifts off into the wind. I guess she finally had peace and has returned to the world, so to speak, as she's a giver of life. It's a shame if this story arc is to end here, as it would just be filler, but we did see someone crying with the Cornhusk doll, and I think that that is, unfortunately, it for her. We also got an interesting moment from the books as Shadow is invited for dinner with Marguerite's sister as she walked in on him painting topless, which is, well, something. I'm expecting a lot of thirst comments there for Shadow Moon. It turns out her half-sister is Sam Crow, someone who obviously Shadow met earlier in the show. Later, they talk about Marguerite's kid, Sandy, who went missing, and that is Sam Crow and Shadow alone, that is. Sam hasn't heard anything from him, as they all think he's in Florida. And in the book, this did happen and is just another missing person, which hints as to where this is going. And, well, we learn that the kid stealing the underwear is Derek. And, well, it's interesting as with this, the whole thing with the missing kids, obviously Shadow was to be planted. I expect that he was to be really had the fall guy for this missing child. And, well, we also have Sandy who's missing. So there is a community of kids who keep going missing throughout the history of Lakeside. And we will soon find out who is actually behind it, which I'm guessing you get where I'm going. Interesting also at dinner was the mention of ice skating, and gives Shadow a reason to get on the ice, as he will find out just what is in that clunker. I love the ending as it goes into a curious place, and I'm excited to see more of Danny Trejo because, well, Machete is the coolest thing ever. But next week it seems to be all over the place once more as the season heads into the final few episodes. Odin is heavily in danger now with Laura, as with Mr. World and her teaming up, it's not good for him as Shadow will finally learn the dark secret of Lakeside. But that's it for this video. Please drop a like down below, please do subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.